I don't think I've ever seen anything that's like more on the nose than this in terms of like the message that it was trying to deliver or the themes that it was exploring. This is like been critically acclaimed as a body horror film. I was expecting something along the lines of the Cronenbergs that we talk about so much, and instead what I got was something that was like definitely pretending to be a Cronenbergian type of thing.
Oh no! Why would you even say that about this? That's like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
You think
I
so?
thought the cinematography was visceral in this. It was way better than anything I've seen Cronenberg do.
This is a massive hit. Stars Demi Moore. She won a Golden Globe for her performance as washed-out celebrity Elizabeth Sparkle, a name that's about as subtle as the rest of the film. Yeah. And this is basically, like I said, an on-the-nose parody of celebrity beauty standards, especially as they apply to aging female stars. She basically gets fired from her gig on a workout show or some shit, and she quickly gets offered this black market drug called the substance that basically replicates your cells and creates like a younger, better version of yourself. But there are some caveats to that. You have to take very good care of both sides of yourself because you are one, as they say the whole movie. Of course, the younger self, as her younger self, does not follow the rules, and slowly but surely things start to go off the rails and ultimately end up in what is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen on film. So, Marvin, what do you think about this movie, Marvin? You like this movie.
I fucking love this movie. Yeah, I watched it it might have been a couple months ago at this point. I thought this was great. I thought the premise, like I said, it was very on the nose, but I still think they did a good job of keeping you like interested throughout the movie without like thinking that this is like going on too long or this is a drag or some shit. I thought Demi Moore did an amazing job. Apparently the rest of the world did too, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
It had that sci-fi feel to it too. And I don't know if they meant for it to really. Just, I don't know, it felt like it was a little bit further in the future or something. Like if I had to kind of describe this, it was a little bit way more futuristic, I guess. Or something
I think that's because of the parody of it. This is very similar to RoboCop, where it takes like the real world that we're living in and like amplifies it to like a million degrees.
100%.
It's like an alternate universe feel to it.
Pretty
it
much,
had, like, because the doctor's still wearing a pager.
Yep.
You know, like for little things is like you're in a world where film and stuff is like Hollywoodized, but you're not in like an America. You're just somewhere else.
Yeah.
In a different universe.
I thought this was good though. Like the pacing was good.
Yeah.
Like the crazy ending where like they're fighting and all this shit was good. I feel like the gore was even like, it wasn't crazy until the end, but it was still like some pretty good, gory, nice stuff when she was like abusing the injection site and all that. Like, it was some gross stuff in there. It didn't really get that much body horror until the end, though.
I enjoyed this. Like I said, the cinematography was visceral. You know, when Dennis Quaid is eating the shrimp or smoking,
oh god,
and all these so close-up camera shots of just everything that make like it unsettles you. You're like, ugh, that's kind of gross. That's kind of disgusting. They do a really good job of setting that up, and then getting into the messages of the whole movie. There's little messages, subtle messages, hints, and everywhere. One thing that we noticed when we were watching is like, girls beat themselves up, as far as their image goes and everything, and like her like kicking the shit out of herself when they're fighting each other after she wakes up. There's some parallels to that, but it got ridiculous at the end, which was hilarious. I didn't realize that it was going to do that, so it was
me either.
It was actually it was a pleasant surprise, I guess, because I thought it was going to go dark and weird, and maybe like what was the one that we watched, Smile 2. I thought it was going to have a weird ass ending like Smile 2, where she gets up on stage and something weird happens and everybody freaks out. But it kind of did, but it just did it in a funny way. But I loved this movie. I thought it was great. Great build up, great acting, great cinematography.
You talked about the visceral shots and stuff. Some of the shots reminded me of like, maybe it's like some 90s movies or something that I had seen, like those like super close up, kind of grossing you out type of shots.
And even like the hallway that they were walking down with all the posters and stuff, Like that's a carpeted hallway. You shouldn't hear anybody walking, but it sounds like he's walking down. Like it just everything like is just kind of weird, like unsettling. Qualley did a great job of delivering on unsettling you and then giving you this reprieve of okay, now it's gonna get silly stupid.
The whole swapping, it honestly it gives me some Severance vibes with the swapping between some parallels there for sure. Yeah.
The difference is Severance is you're the same person, but you're two different people. This is you're the same person, but one is a younger, better version of yourself, and you get to do whatever you want. Where it's, I mean, so they're the same thing. You get to do whatever you want in Severance in your life outside of work, and you don't have to think about it. Where this one, you're kind of forced to just lie there and eat some goo on the floor.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my other gripe is this girl like
on the floor.
She comes out and then, you know, all of a sudden, like I'm a master fabricator and journeyman framer and welder, and I'm going to make this secret room in the back of my bathroom. I was like, that's stupid. But
that was hilarious. Yeah.
We're very far apart on this movie. I hated this movie. Hated it.
What?
No,
How did you hate this?
You're in line with Christina. She hated it too.
I thought this movie was loud and I thought it was obnoxious. It made me nauseous at times, like dizzy.
Yeah.
And I don't think it served any purpose whatsoever. Honestly, I don't even know what this movie's about. I know what it wanted to be about, but it certainly didn't show it because we said it's on the nose, but then it like completely doesn't do the thing that it set out to do. First of all, you mentioned the pace. This was like a grueling 2.5 hours. Like, couldn't wait for it to be over. Like,
it was a little long. Yeah, it was a little long.
It went a half hour longer than it had to, but also, this is not going to make any sense, but despite its length, it felt super rushed. Like, the snowball happens so fast, but it drags for so long. I don't know if that makes sense. Does it make sense? It does. It's just a weird pacing to the movie. It just literally made me dizzy. And I get like the cinematography of it was really great and it is visceral and it really like makes you anxious and stuff like that. And I loved it and that was great. I think there's a lot of good stuff to the movie overall. Visually, the sound design was fantastic. All served to like deliver that anxiety and stuff like that. She was great. Her co-star, Margaret Qualley, was great. They were fantastic. Everybody in the movie was really good, but the movie overall, I thought I did not like it at all. I hated it. So this is really about like the preposterous beauty standards, right? That are placed upon women in our culture, not just celebrities, but women in general.
By men and women, yeah.
Correct.
Because women do it to themselves, but men also push those standards.
This is why I hated the movie, because you just nailed it, right? The movie itself is mostly leaning into the beauty standards that society places on women based off of professional stuff and societal things and like how women get propped up in society based on their looks. They get work based on their looks and all that stuff. But why was this movie so determined to make these women suffer then, while portraying the men as like the bumbling buffoons who they were? And that's not me being like this movie was woke. It just doesn't make any sense thematically because the men in the movie objectify women to a cartoonish degree. The two guys at the audition who were like, here's somebody where everything's where it's supposed to be. Wow, she had great tits, but her nose was, you know what I mean? And then Dennis Quaid's character is like, pretty girl should smile. And it's like in your face. And it's like, yeah, okay. It's like a cartoonish caricature of like shitty men. Get it? Great. But then the movie goes and punishes these two women so like the message didn't make any sense.
Women also punish themselves, so that was part of the message. But
it's not their fault. I don't think. I don't know. I just didn't get it. I didn't get the whole message. Like you're trying to tell me one thing or showcase one thing, but you're telling me another. It's like, wow, these women are victims of society and our culture, but we're also going to make them like horrifically suffer for it. Like what doesn't make any sense. I would think that like you would want women to like come together and like fight back against what they're being put through, but instead they turn on each other.
They're also fighting for survival between each other, right? Like,
and I think they could have just been like, yo, I'm young and hip, I'll make all the money, and then you can wake up and like also enjoy that too. Like you made me. I don't know. It's just, I feel like in another world it could have just been like a very simple, like
it could have been
mutually beneficial relationship.
It could have been, but if you're they're sharing everything down the middle, right? Time, essentially.
Yeah.
And if you feel like one person is wasting that time,
Yeah, no, I get it.
overeating, whatever,
Yeah, totally.
and then it spirals, and that's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they portrayed that pretty well.
The overall message could be about, you know, the status of women and objectifying them and all that. There is still, this is about, you know, humans. And if you could make a younger, better version of yourself and go through all this to do it, would you do it? And what would you do? So I mean, that in a way that's kind of sexless, but it focused on a woman and a woman in entertainment, which was interesting because I thought, you know, if you're somebody like Demi Moore or her character Elizabeth Sparkles, and you've been in this your entire life, and then you got a younger version, you were washed out basically, and nobody cares about you anymore. Would you really want to do the entire career you just did all over again? Or would you want to try something else with all that money and all that youth? But
well, if you're addicted to the fame and the limelight, you probably would.
Correct.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it's not necessarily just a victimhood of what society does to women. It's also what women do to themselves, or just what people do to themselves to try and get to a place that they think will be better. You know, I want fame. I want people to want me around, and I need to be celebrated by other people to feel good or find value in myself. There was a lot of messaging like that in there. And so I think in that term, it's not necessarily just about, you know, women body positivity or
no. I don't think it's
toxic masculinity. But
where I fall out of alignment with that is like, who's to blame? It's like the chicken or the egg. Who's to blame? The people that chase the beauty standards, or the people that invent the beauty standards that make people feel like they have to chase it?
I don't think this movie is trying to portray like who is to blame. I think it's just like trying to show like this is to an extreme. This is what happens when you try to keep up, and instead of like embracing your beauty as you get older or whatever it may be.
Sure.
This is for us. We aren't in the same like limelight as like celebrities or whatever, right? So like when your whole livelihood is how you look, really, like
Yeah, 100%.
it could be easy. It could be a lot easier to like fixate on these things and like
No, totally.
go change your makeup 20
I mean,
times and like
I have firsthand experience with this. I told you, I had a friend who was an actor, and she's telling me all the time about like the concept of like getting work done, which like a lot of men are like, oh, you don't need that. You're attractive. You're pretty. You don't need. It's not about that. It's about like, I need to maintain this standard. Otherwise, I lose my livelihood. Right.
Right.
Because that's just how the industry is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the movie lost me, because that's like the whole premise of the movie. They build the movie from that point. We see it in the beginning is like, you get a little bit of like a brief little description of what the substance does. It causes mitosis. Okay, cool. But then it shows you like a glimpse of her career and life over the course of time by just holding on her Hollywood star, which I thought was brilliant, by the way. She gets her star put in. She's a rising star. She's super famous. And then slowly but surely time degrades the star. And people spill garbage on it and whatever, and she just gets lost to time itself. And so I love that, but like I thought the filmmaking part of the movie was fantastic. It was brilliant. I just thought that message was like, I don't know where it wanted to be. I totally understand they're being punished because they're like, they can't move on gracefully and accept the fact that they're older and stuff like that. But I just don't see it as their fault. Does that make sense?
I don't think anybody would see it as their fault.
It's society's
fault. If you're
fault.
chasing beauty at a point where you're past your prime of beauty, it's getting into the you have lost touch with who you are as a person.
True, yeah.
No, I agree. And she did lose touch with who she is as a person. I'm just simply saying that at least in this movie and in real life, I don't think that's the fault of the person losing touch with who they are. It's the systems and the circumstances that instill that into them. As far as the body horror goes, I thought the practical effects were fantastic. You mentioned it in your last news story that the VFX team on The Substance turned her into the Blob and like all this stuff. Very, very impressive practical effects. I thought it was really cool. Margaret Qualley, she in an interview talking about the suit at the end that took like 6 to 9 hours to put on and take off. And like they said that she said that like she would just shoot until she was like have a panic attack, like being in this thing for so long.
Fuck.
To say I hated it, I didn't enjoy it. Hated is maybe strong, but like, because I think there was a lot of really good things with, like, in terms of like filmmaking and like acting. Like, obviously the performances were brilliant, and I think it's fine. I just don't get it. I don't get it, and that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't think there's anything to get, like, because it is so on the nose, and it's not trying to save anyone, like, per se. It's not like trying to change anyone's mind or, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's just telling this crazy extreme story, and that just kind of is what it is.
No, it's getting critical acclaim. Like I said, she won the Golden Globe, and it's got a 7.3 on IMDb. What are you guys gonna give it, Marvin?
7.3. I think I would give it an 8. Round it up.
I don't know if it's worth the bump, so I'll give it a 7.
Yeah, I would give it a 7 too. I still hated it, but it was an objectively good movie. Like, it was a well-made movie. That was the thing. I just
you can't hate it and get it a 7.
Yes, you can.
That's not how that works.
Yes, you can. Listen,
No, I've never gave a movie I hated a 7. Not once.
I could recognize the fact that it was quality filmmaking. I don't understand what they were trying to convey to me. That's really all it is. But I still think it was an objectively well-made movie. It did the things that it wanted. Like, it definitely, made you feel uncomfortable and gross and like all this stuff effectively.
Yeah.
There's our thoughts, folks, on The Substance. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought of The Substance. Consider subscribing if you have not done so. Leave a like on the video. It helps us out. But most importantly, share your thoughts down below. That's what we really care about. We want to talk movies and shows with everybody. So